All right.
Hey,
Hit
let's
the
get
light
it.
for us. You performed well with that one. All
Mhm.
right, we're back for another original late night podcast.
Hey, everybody.
Hopefully, everybody's awake still. I'm glad we are. Otherwise, there wouldn't be an episode this week.
Yep, but we got to get to it.
We do. So, how you feeling? How are you tonight?
I'm good. I'm a little sleepy, but I'm here. I'm ready.
That's good.
What about you? How are you? How you going? How you feeling? Excuse me.
I feel good. I'm feeling cozy in this hoodie I just put on. So I got my hood on. It's a little chilly, but then I got like the warmth of the hoodie is.
Mm,
So this is like pre-game warm up for bed.
yeah, I like your outfit.
Interesting.
It's cute.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, I feel good too. So I'm not like, I don't think I'm as sleepy, but if I was laying down right now, I'm sure that would be fulfilling. So,
Mm,
you know. But yeah, so hopefully everybody out there, y'all are feeling good and you're comfortable. Got a good chair, maybe a pen and some paper. If not, a good I don't know, a good phone.
oh, yeah, you already
Take
know.
notes.
Yep.
Hmm.
I'm
What do
saying,
what do we know?
we know that when this podcast drop, gotta have something ready. Something ready to write with, something you could take away from it
Yeah.
and hopefully apply. I mean, that's our goal is to, you know, give the people something that they can apply to their daily living or apply to their journey even. So don't want to miss that.
It's true. It's true. So yeah, what she said. Um and basically if you don't take notes, physically the first go around, that's cool. I think listening is fine too. I mean, it is late or depending on when it's your first time. When your first time listening to this might be, might not be right away, but essentially, definitely, when you listen, just do your best to internalize what's for you and meditate on it and find a way to put it into practice. So I know for me, I probably say it somewhat often, but as we both just said, like pretty much taking notes, writing it down, that way you can come back to it, and the beauty of these episodes is that you can play them again. So,
Yep, hit that replay
and you can share them
and you can subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to our channel.
that way. That no, I'm saying that way they can,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh.
you'll be able to. But anyway, so yeah, we got some. I think we got some interesting conversation for you guys today. So we started.
Oh, okay.
You saying okay? I'm about to remind you. We, what we talked about earlier. So I asked you a question. I just say it like that, and you kind of responded to me as though what I asked you, you can't really speak on because you feel like what I was asking you was something that's personal to me, and then based out of that response, you kind of said also like maybe you could give me more feedback on what I was asking in due time or in time. You just needed more time maybe to even be able to see for yourself what I was asking you. Like, but basically, the basis of my question, from a more practical standpoint, without worrying about like all the details of it, I pretty much was asking you, like, you know, do you see, are you able to see the direction, um, that I'm going in, or is there growth happening? You know, I think it was something to the tune of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of got on the topic of like, you know, um, I'll say growth versus consistency. And not to just say them like this, there's two opposing things, but I guess, you know, to set the table, and these are common themes that it might be kind of a running thread that kind of goes through that has kind of gone through some of our episodes so far. Obviously, in this season, we're talking a lot about just, things that, like you said, help people in their daily living, things that have helped us in our daily living,
Mm-hmm.
of just becoming better versions of ourselves and getting to where we're trying to go or where we see ourselves going in the near future. So, with that, it was interesting because it's like, okay, not that you can't necessarily tell me whether or not I'm growing, or, that we can't obviously see, you know, from an accountability standpoint, like, okay, like you're heading in a direction that is healthy or good or, positive or whatever. But again, I think the basis of what I liked about where our conversation kind of ended up was like, you didn't necessarily think that just because somebody, is consistent, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm putting words in your mouth, but you didn't necessarily think that just because somebody has been consistent at something that they've automatically gotten better or grown in that thing. And I would say probably the opposite is true, if we can say that. Like, just because somebody has grown and gotten better, I mean, it might require some consistency, but it's not automatic that just because you're consistent that happens.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess if you could share maybe some thoughts on any part of that, maybe we can start with just because I think it'll really help. It'll help me, and it'll help, I feel like, some listeners to break that down. I thought that was interesting, but I'll need your help because you're the one who kind of shared that thought process with me.
I mean, I don't know. I think it can go both ways. I guess if you're consistent with something long enough, um, there is a measure of you getting better at it. I
But let
don't
me say this: say? Why did you feel the need to say, like, just because somebody is like, you think that's consistency, that's why it looks like, it may seem as though the person is getting better, growing, or whatever, but in reality, it's just consistency. That's kind of how you said it.
mm, I don't necessarily recall saying it that way, but I'll do my best to speak on what you're asking me.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're live.
Um, I mean, I feel like there's an element of somebody starting something and they're not good at it yet. Maybe it's something that they want to do or it's a skill that they have to acquire in order to get to whatever end goal they might have. I think it's easier to measure the growth when somebody starts off as something and they're not good at it and they've been consistent for this period of time and they do get better versus somebody who if you know you want to do something because at first glance like you believe you can do it or you have that kind of like desire in your heart to do it.
Mm-hmm.
um I think the I don't know that the consistency part by itself solely determines like how good you are at it. I think I'm not saying the consistency factor is a natural thing as a result because some people do have to work at that, but um I don't know. I'm trying to think about how to make it practical. I don't really know how to make it practical for real because
I mean, we don't have to skip to just giving them the jewel right away. I think for me, too, I'm also even thinking, just considering what you said, I just thought it was like that's a different angle because I think most people would think if they're doing something over the course of time that, oh, it's automatic that I'm better at it. You know what I mean? If you, obviously, if you're not approaching it with a genuine intent to be better, then you can't just say that just because you showed up. But then there is an extent to which there should be some form of natural, I would think, progression by showing up consistently to do something or to be something. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like for you to kind of say it's not automatic. Like I didn't think it was like a negative statement or something that was like to take anything away from me or anybody that might be consistent and not necessarily be better. If anything, I thought like uncovering how that it can even be, because I'm sure that first of all, we know there's a lot of people that aren't consistent, for one, but then for those who are, but are you improving? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's why it was like, I'm like, dang, it was really like some Yoda type stuff.
I mean, I think the key word is intent, like you said.
Mhm.
Obviously, you can continue to show up somewhere, but if you're not intentional on why you show up, it could just look like you showing up. And a person might not know why are you, like, what are you here to contribute to the environment by showing up?
Yeah.
Like, that's good you showed up. And, so the angle is kind of coming from that person. Maybe we don't know that person, for example, struggled with showing up on time.
Yeah.
We just see that they show up on time. But what we need from them is more to contribute to the environment because
Mhm.
we don't see their issue with showing up on time.
Yeah.
So now if that person is like, hey, like, do you think me showing up like that has gotten better?
Yeah.
And the person on the other end is looking like, well, you show up. I don't really know what you're asking. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know that you getting here on time was something that you were working towards.
Yeah.
Like, and
I mean, I think a bit if they were late before, I'm assuming.
well, but let's say like in this new environment,
Mhm.
they haven't showed up late at all.
Okay. Okay.
They've
Okay.
they've they've made the change on their own. They've decided on their own.
Yeah.
Like I see myself being a person who shows up on time
Yeah.
to places. They don't necessarily maybe share that with everybody.
Yeah.
It's just them who knows that. So
Makes sense.
everybody else gets the person who shows up on time version.
Yeah.
And they maybe want somebody to tell them, like, oh my gosh, like you show up on time, like you've gotten so much better. It was like, I can't tell you that because I didn't know that that was something you saw for yourself or
Yeah.
that was the type of person you want to be. And I just think there's nuances that come with just when we maybe have a vision about something.
Yeah.
um there are the shared elements of the vision, and then there are the parts of the vision that like only we can truly assess that for ourselves to know like we've gotten better.
Okay, Yoda. So to go back, because you kind of said what I was gonna borderline segue into, because you also told me, because I obviously came to you asking your perspective, you know what I mean, or your thoughts. So to your point, it's kind of like, I thought that was pretty deep too. It's you saying like, yeah, that's something that's personal to you, like something that you would have to, kind of ask yourself or consider, which I think we all can. We can ask ourselves certain questions, as we think mentioned on the podcast before last, maybe, or the last one of the
Mm-hmm.
last two. I think they kind of,
Yeah, it might be the last
it's
two.
like part one, part two, um, but I was like, that's pretty good, and then you followed that statement up with, you just need more time, and then you can probably, give me something or speak on it in that way. But to your point, I mean, I guess just things being personal to us that we're looking for, I guess, the world to react to it, or we're looking for, even if the world just is someone close to us or the people closest to us,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to notice the change, to like reaffirm, that, oh yeah, I see you. I do notice, the growth or the direction or the, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Like you might have cut your hair off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously that's a more obvious one, but we're really speaking on like intrinsic and character and, but even skill wise, like if somebody is getting better at something and you're a part of an environment of other people that you would think would notice and be able to speak on like what it is you do. It could be your work environment, if you're younger or a professional, you play sports, college, whatever, you know what I mean? It could be that type of environment.
Mm-hmm.
But without getting super long winded, my point was just to go back to what you just said. I mean, it is, I think it being personal is a major key to it being, um, how can I put it? I guess just to how it does even play out in becoming something that others can see. So if that person is so caught up, let's just say the person who's struggling with being on time, but then they start to get it, you know what I mean? Like you just have to be that. You know what I mean? You've already, if the narrative is not you're late and especially you're in this new environment,
Yeah.
like don't worry about somebody trying to tell you like they notice that you're not late. It's just like just know that you're not late. So it's you can
Yeah.
maybe not check it off the list, but like you can go to the next thing, really. Be
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
you know.
And that's true that you say that, because that, I feel like that is a large part of it too. Almost like we're looking for the validation so we can accept that, so that we can continue to go and like climb to the next level.
Yeah.
But going to the next level really just looks like you already, like you said, I'm already that. Like,
Yeah.
and like when you're that already, that's already the preparation needed for the next thing. And it just kind of, it all flows together or falls together, if you will, because like you said, I mean, I don't know, it's just the intrinsic factor. Just, and I would say we're just really having that mindset to
Yeah.
know that like I'm already that. And the things that people notice, I mean, if it's people coming from the outside looking in versus somebody who I guess does know you more, we might expect that they should be able to maybe point out certain things. But at the same time, I think with that deep knowing or that deep belief or even showing up with that confidence, even it that can also make it somewhat hard even for people who know you to might even notice those things,
Yeah.
because they see you as somebody who is showing up how they said they would like to show up, or
Yeah.
they're exemplifying those qualities. So um now it does become a thing where everybody else gets the good picture and we are left to deal with the factors that we know we have to continue to improve.
Personally.
Yeah.
So, but you're saying with the people that are experiencing your change, what about them? Because you said they might struggle too with.
The people experiencing the change, they're just the people who see already what you're putting out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying it may be harder for them to see what exactly you improved in,
Mm-hmm.
because they already have such a view of you
Mm-hmm.
versus somebody
So it's like harder to digest, kind of.
not digest. It's just harder to pinpoint what exactly you might have improved in.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
um, because they already think you're good. They already have this idea in their mind of like who you are. That's just the perspective they're viewing you with.
Yeah.
So, wondering from those people or waiting for those people to say, "Oh my gosh, like I noticed this thing about you." I don't think it comes in that form.
Yeah.
I think it just comes in the form of them really just admiring you,
Yeah.
and they might can't necessarily speak on what those nuances are
Yeah.
that we know or that we have intrinsically, because it's just part of our vision includes, again, those just nuances of um things everybody might not see.
Yeah. Versus kind of, I think what you were about to say was like if it's somebody that they don't necessarily know from a can of paint or they're meeting for the first time, you can kind of more easily point out what you see. You know what I mean? I guess, or what you notice.
Mm-hmm.
I think you were gonna say something like that. I kind of cut you off, but I did. I didn't cut you off because we were having a conversation. Cut you off.
The people that don't know you are just looking at you from a standpoint of admiration. They don't know what you got better in or what direction you're trying to go in.
Yeah.
They already have a perspective of you. Versus, you know, I'm saying like we assume that the people closest to us should maybe have a perspective to where they can pinpoint the things that we have gotten better with. We would think or we expect that they should be able to pinpoint those nuances, especially if we have remotely shared any part of our vision with them. But I think the truth is there are some nuances to the vision that are personal, because even the people closest to us, excuse me, they don't they don't have the full picture like we do.
Yeah.
So they may not know all the nuances that we're working towards, all the little things that we're working towards to make something what it is.
Well, I would think the people closest to you, or the closer they are, they would have a more full picture, if not the full picture. That's just me. But I was gonna say earlier, I do feel as though people. I had a specific saying, but something to the tune of like, people can't necessarily validate, you know, what you've changed in or grown, the areas you've grown in or whatever. Like, you know, that's not the place we should give people. I'll just put it like that. You know,
Yeah.
like if you're looking for people to validate how much you've grown or this or that, you know what I mean? Like I feel like probably do still have more work to do, which is not a bad thing. It's just, you know, it's kind of like, hey, Dad, did you see me make that shot? It's like, that's cool. You made one. You know what I mean? Like, of course, a child would want that
Yeah.
from their parent. That affirming love or attention, or But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, it's like when you can stand there and just continue to do it over and over and over and over, no matter who's watching. I feel like that's when it's like, you might look up, take a break, and it is somebody watching you.
Yeah.
But even just because that person's there, it still should not. It's not like, oh, okay, somebody's watching now. You know what I mean? It's like you should be able to do whatever it is, whatever area you're looking to, develop something in or grow in or whatever. Like you should be able to just continue down that path. I feel like regardless, like that's the validation, you know,
Yeah.
like, and not aimlessly, but like you said, you pointed out that I said intentionally, and obviously at some point though, I mean that accountability that we always talk about, I think is big. That's what I'm saying. The closer the people are to you or the person or whoever, or your relationship with God, obviously, like somewhere along the way, you should be getting some sort of feedback,
Yeah.
But how you kind of, I'll say, deflected my question was still, you're saying be accountable to you first. Like, do you trust the way in which, you know what I mean, you're approaching
Mm-hmm.
your area of growth and this and that, and you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's good because it doesn't, we're not just looking to get patted on the back about every little thing, you
Yeah.
know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think that's where you were coming from, but it still was like, like I said, it's like, I might not feel all whatever, like, oh, she gave me oh, I feel good. The answer she gave me, like, but I feel mm, like in time she'll know. And that does still give me something to look forward to. But that time, like you said, I might not know now, but in due time, because then it's like, oh, okay. With time, maybe she'll be able to see it. And that means it's actually evident. Like
Yeah.
there's evidence. It's not just me asking and it's like, somebody close to me wanting to kind of keep a smile on my face, telling me what I want to hear. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes like we look for that, and in a minute somebody's like, "Oh yeah, you're doing a good job." It's like we just go off for that. It's like they might have just been in a good mood,
Yeah.
and told you that. But you want to really, if it's something that really, now I'm turning into a gargoyle. If it's something that you really want to, if it's something that you really want to learn or again develop in or do better, whatever, like, I mean, you just gotta, for lack of a better way to put it, I feel like take it serious and just keep doing it
Yeah.
until such time as like you feel
Yeah.
led to move to the next thing.
Yeah. That's true. And then I know it can be tough sometimes because a lot of times talking about growth and consistency, just for me personally, sometimes hearing this stuff, it could seem like something that's so abstract. So I know that when we do have others or we're able to get validation from other people,
Mm-hmm.
it helps us because there's no like timetable when it comes to growth or consistency. Like you don't know in what maybe time frame you might get better, or somebody will say like we don't know what time frame in which a person might recognize your growth or how consistent you're being. So it's kind of like we're just waiting for that. But and so what I'm getting at is the challenge with growth or consistency or going in a certain direction sometimes even without the validation of others is just the fact that it those concepts cross with just reality. Like there's a reality that exists to where that you can get some form of a return on your consistency, or if you're working at something you expect that you'll get better. um but the reality, I'm like going all over the place, but
No, you're fine.
the reality of that kind of it crosses with time, it crosses with again like other people recognizing or validating, it crosses with our own thought process and looking ourselves in the mirror and asking ourselves, do we really like believe in what we're doing
Mm-hmm.
in a practical sense? And I think those in those moments when we're thinking about, okay, is my growth or my consistency in the direction I'm going just this abstract thing, or is it actually, have I actually stepped into like this concrete reality where I can see the results or I can hear the results from other people?
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is we don't know when we get that timetable, so we really just have to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think what you said, excuse me. I think what you said as it pertains to belief and believing is key too, because it's like that's why I kind of brought it back to where you said to me like, yeah, that's personal to you, because it is like if we make it about everything else and the outside factors, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like just losing that first, I feel like of most importance reason for why we even set out to go down this path, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
of whatever it is in the area or the direction of improvement or trying to be more consistent in an area, like, you know, and if we make it about something else that it's not about, like, and that's if we even set out to do it for ourselves in the first place anyway.
Yeah.
And like I don't mean that in a negative way, but if you're the one who needs to grow or improve, you know
Yeah.
what I mean, or be consistent, then obviously you're the one that has to believe in it. You're the one that has to have a reason to
Yeah.
why. So it's like if you start making it about the feedback you get, or if you start making it about, the amount of days that it's been, or if you start making it about like how much money or
Mhm.
validation from a title or that kind of thing, like not only will it the journey, if you will, potentially become diluted, but I mean, I don't know how long you sustain that. Like you have many reasons to stop after a while,
Yeah.
after a short while. You know, it
Yeah.
might be day 789. You know, God forbid, but don't nobody say nothing about how you appear to have grown.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're okay with that, knowing intrinsically that you believe,
Yeah.
I think that was just good how you put that. Like it's simple, but it's again, it might seem abstract, but I mean that's where we all have to do some like self work and assessing and
Yeah.
understanding. Gaining a level of understanding and studying like what does it mean to believe and what does it look like for me to believe in something that I'm doing? Like
Yeah.
how do I feel even? So you know what that is, and you can stay true to that.
Yeah.
Like otherwise, it's just everything is abstract. Like it won't have that much meaning, you know. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it will just be based on what somebody else is telling you.
Yeah.
You know.
And I know part of that comes from us. We're looking for something to test against. But like you said, I mean, if we're not mindful of the measures that we're using to test our growth against or our consistency against, um, or even what we believe in, it can be, kind of dangerous. And I think dangerous more so because that'll probably make a hit or take a hit to our self-esteem or the progress we actually have made, but we're we're kind of, putting our own assessment, the assessment we know like that only we can give ourselves, knowing how far we've personally come from,
Mm-hmm.
on the back burner in order to receive somebody else's opinion who
Yeah.
they don't even know what place we started from.
Yeah. It's true.
Mm.
It's true. So I guess to go back to the consistency versus growth factor,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with all that said, like, why would you say, you know, it's better to have actually grown maybe than to just be consistent, if that's even what you would say? But that's kind of what I got out of what you said earlier.
Mm,
Like, yeah, be consistent, but be sure that you've actually grown and not just have seen results based on you doing something more often.
well, I mean, I think we kind of touched on that just about being intentional about our growth. And maybe it's not so much like getting caught up in one facet of what we're doing. Not that those things can't be important, but I guess an analogy would be is like, are you just because you're busy, that doesn't mean you're being productive.
Yeah.
Like a person can tell you they got all these things on their agenda. Um, Maybe they planned on, and it's and just hearing the context that I'm saying in, because we can put it in different tiers with the examples I'm about to give. But it's like if we tell a person, I have a paper to write, and you ask them, oh, what you been up to today? Knowing that they shared with you that they had a paper to write. Like, oh, I watched this movie today. I went out shopping real quick. Like, I called up my homeboy, my homegirl. We chatted for a while. And I got something to eat. Like, man, I'm so tired. I had like such a busy day. Like, you didn't get nothing done
Yeah.
in regards to what the goal or like the vision was, knowing you had that paper. So like, yeah, you were busy, but we wouldn't say you had a productive day in regards to knowing what you had to do. So the growth versus the consistency, like sometimes it's, if we're not intentional, consistency can just mean like we're busied with a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
and we're consistently busy with things, but um that may not translate to growth because we're not doing things that directly translate to like the vision we have or like what we're supposed to be doing. We're just doing stuff.
Yeah.
And then we want people to look at us and say like, "Oh wow, look how much you're doing." And it's like, "Yeah, you're doing stuff, but we're like but is that the end goal or is that what you have in mind? Like, are we stopping here?
Yeah.
Because if we're stopping here, then maybe we can talk about it from a different point or perspective. I guess if we're wanting to stop in the middle maybe and see how far we've come, I guess I could see where, it's a valid question in looking at our consistency. But I think in the middle often comes like the turning points are in the middle. Because if we don't figure out where we can turn, now it does look like, okay, we're being consistent, but like what have we now added to the pot to help us grow?
Mm-hmm.
Not just um we got the consistency part down, I guess is what I'm getting at, and that's good. But for growth, you have to build in order to grow. So we have to add things to our toolbox. We have to expand our knowledge. We have to maybe try out different things. We gotta, but
I
just might
think that's it
require
right
us
there.
to dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah. I think that's it though, what you just said. We have to build in order to grow. That was really good. Not that everything else wasn't good. It just was making me feel like I was taking it personal. But the reason why I'm saying even that I was taking it personal while I'm hearing everything you're saying, because this is not just about me, but I mean, you might be speaking abstract about me. I don't know. We have to talk after. But
I'm just trying to get my thoughts out.
but I'm speaking more so to like you can see results though, like, and not just me, but in the event that someone is able to be able to point to things that say, look at this, like use the example of being on time for work. Somebody can point out like, I have whatever, a log of my work attendance or class attendance, whatever. You can look at my attendance from last year. I was late or absent. You could look at it this year. I was there every day. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so there are results that you can see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's kind of what I'm speaking to. Like, as opposed to somebody just saying that they're consistent or somebody staying busy, like, yeah, I'm going to school, but that doesn't mean you're going to class. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or somebody has a job and they do work, but that doesn't mean like you get the job done. You know what I mean? Or that doesn't mean that you do the job well,
Mm-hmm.
But if there are results that show, oh, you are on time, you do your job, you do it well, and whatever markers there are that can prove those results or show that. Um, and there might be other areas in which it's not just like a checklist. Like I like how you did use the example of just you got a to-do list you were doing a bunch of things that you can say you did throughout the day. But I know there are some things that might be more, if it is just you, like there's no way to really check and see. We're not going based off of quantity or frequency, how often or whatever. It might just be something like you said you said dig deeper. I think that kind of makes me just think about like the quality factor. Like you can continue to show up, you know, but like is the quality of your showing up improving? Like
Yeah.
are you showing up better?
Yeah.
Or are you just showing up the same every
And
day?
that's important because what you said is good in terms of, yeah, we can see the results.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess for me, sometimes how I look at things is like, but is that part of the job?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, are we, do we want validation for something that is part of the job? Like, if if we have to get, and for some, or maybe for all of us, even when we're starting out something, like you have to get better at just doing the job first.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that is where like a promotion at a job or something like that. You come in, you're new, you're fresh, you get acclimated to the roles, you figure out how to work the computer. Um, you know, you understand how the building is laid out, you know what every floor offers and where to find things and can get resources and all that. And that's good, but I would say that you don't you don't get a promotion for doing for like knowing the job you're supposed to do well. You get the promotion like when we talked about earlier when you actually like you know you're that. So you put in the extra work that maybe somebody on the next level of the promotion would do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when people recognize because like it's like, wow, you're on this level and you're
Maybe.
already doing 30% of work that is
Yeah.
done on the next
Ideally,
level.
I'll say.
Yeah, it is ideally.
And maybe, but because that's kind of to that point, I mean, I think we can end by kind of talking about validation a little bit more. Because it's like there's plenty of people I'm sure who've done that work. They didn't receive the validation
Mm,
in the form of a raise or a promotion or even saying you're doing a great job. And what do those people often do?
they quit.
Exactly. So it's like, I'm not saying you should just let somebody else's validation cause you to quit or not receiving that cause you to quit. But at what point is validation necessary? Because again, even in our real example, forgive us too for all these, you know, abstract examples, but it's we're trying to just make it plain to you and hopefully one of these examples applies. But with me and you, it's like I'm coming to you for you to tell me. I didn't walk up to the man in McDonald's and ask him. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
like on what level is the validation? Like you might be telling me something that I need to assess further. And I think it was great, words, what you said. But at the same time, when is it necessary that we do energize each other, if you will? Being truthful still, but you do validate or reward or, you know,
I mean, I think that's
not when do you
definitely.
do it only, sorry, but like, is it necessary? If and when is it necessary even?
I'm not saying it's not necessary, but it also it's like if you see it first
Mm-hmm.
and you're asking somebody if they see it, I mean, maybe they do, maybe they don't. I feel
Yeah.
like then they would tell you. And I also feel like if they did see it first, they would tell you. And that would be energizing. But if they don't see it yet, but you recognize it, you just have to keep going because now it's you're weighing what you already know and believe based on the progress you know you've made versus somebody else who might not see it yet.
Yeah.
So, based on like you said earlier, my response in saying like I need more time is essentially to say that whatever you know about how far you've come, I might not know yet. I need more time to see that part manifest. Not because I don't see maybe other elements or facets or I can't speak on how good or great, what you're doing is or what's being produced is, but it just might not be the same.
True. But yeah, I think what you're saying is good. I mean, I just think again, like asking or looking for it from you used the word tiers earlier, from people that might not be in the closest tier, of your inner circle. You know, they might be tiers beyond that and you're looking for validation from them. That's you can't do that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not saying you can never appreciate somebody saying, "Oh my God, such and such, I noticed this and I don't even know you." That might mean a lot, on any given day. But I'm saying like that validation where maybe it being necessary that you know, you as the person who is being come to, and you say, "Well, I don't see it yet." I think that's an honest, fair answer. But at what point is it like worth even considering or looking for. Even if we use that job example again, a career company, like those higher up management, like they need to make it their business darn near to see who needs to be validated. Like not cause like who needs to be babysat or given a treat every time they show up, but like who really is showing up doing what they do and they're worthy of, you know, being made to know that like you're appreciated or you are doing a great job or you have done better, you are being consistent or you know what I mean, like whatever the thing is.
Mm-hmm.
Like otherwise, you know, the proof, I think, I don't know the stats, but it just shows I think a lot of people, especially nowadays in this climate, like they do quit because they don't feel like anybody cares about what they're doing, you know, their performance or whatever. So it's like if you're doing it just for the validation, of course, that's not true, that's not real anyway. But as at a certain point, it is somebody else's job, I think, who's close enough to the person who's quote unquote performing or growing or, you know, being consistent to maybe help to push that person. Like, you know,
I think
we're
that
all in
holds.
this together
I think that
kind of
holds
thing.
true if they never do that. But if we're
Yeah.
talking about an instance where two people are going at something every single day, I mean, that's kind of hard.
Well, yeah. I mean, that may be more a personal thing, but I guess I'm just saying in general, like validation being necessary.
It's necessary, but I also it maybe it's necessary, but I also think it's a personal thing
And to what extent it's necessary may not be the most necessary thing at all. But
because also validation, I mean, it's an unrealistic expectation put on the other person because we're trying to again, we're weighing what we already know and believe about ourselves and we just want somebody to say it, and that's to me that's just more so like the feel good
but,
element of it.
but what about the other side of it? The other person accepting the responsibility of knowing that they're in a position of accountability and validating those that they
I
work
think
closely with
if
being
somebody has that role, then I think they'll know when's a good time to say and they'll speak on it when it's time to speak on it.
this is me now talking about how necessary is it for validation.
I
Because
don't think
you're
it's
saying
I
every
don't
day
think
if the
it's that
person does it. So yeah, I get that. But like if just in general, like
I
that's
don't think it's that necessary. I don't. I mean, I think you believe in something and you're doing it. I mean, you don't need validation from nobody, period. It's good to have it, but I don't think it's necessary.
but I still think I'm speaking to the person in the position that could validate though. Like that's if we are bringing it to me and you, that's like me being in my position, knowing you, but being in my position of accountability to you and like it's not necessary for me to validate you. I think your odds are in your favor when you have one.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
But let us know what you think. We've pontificated enough. It's turned into a seesaw. So, you know, obviously a lot of these topics can go one way or the other, like in any given point. Obviously, you should be able to pick, in my opinion, I agree, like you should be able to push through regardless of the validation. But if you're the person who has the opportunity to validate, I do think I've seen in my own life, you know, where it's necessary to do that sometimes to help somebody else to be more energized, you know, about what it is that they may be experiencing or going for or working towards, you know. They might not need it. They might have still been able to run their race without that. But who knows the joy you might bring, you know, whatever, just by validating somebody. But at the end of the day, I mean, like we said earlier, you do gotta, you know, believe in yourself. For starters, you can ask questions, to other people, or try to see, from the feedback you might get, engage, your growth or your, improvement or whatever it is, the consistency factor in your life. But, regarding whatever it may be, whether it's, school attendance or freaking like your skills on the job, it could be anything, or your communication, like, but ultimately, I'm just saying all that to say, you got to start with believing in yourself and knowing the direction that you're even aiming to head in. And, you got to just stay true to that path. And, if it's supposed to come, the validation will come. I don't think it's automatic at all. Um, and if you feel as though you're on the other side of it, you have the opportunity to be someone's accountability partner. It doesn't mean that you should just only tell them they're doing a great job. You can be honest with them, or you can be, fair in your assessment. I think it doesn't have to just be to only make the other person, feel good. But I do think there is a level of that's level of validation that is necessary, and that might actually help to provide just a more energetic space, which I do believe we have created. And it's healthy. I think it helps, because every day is a good day if you look at it that way, if you choose to look at it that way. But every day is not the same, in the sense that, some days people do need maybe a pick me up or a boost. Not everybody is as good at, I guess, creating that for themselves. But it's just I don't know, PSA conclusion to tie it all together. But yeah, I think that was good.
All right. Well, people, that's we're gonna wrap it up right here. I think y'all got a lot out of this one. So thank you for listening, and we'll catch you guys on the next podcast.
Next week. All right. Have a good night.
Good night.
Peace.